Welcome back for a new Top 5 Criminally Underrated list. This time, we are checking out, from my perspective, 10 criminally underrated games for the Super Nintendo slash Super Famicom. Music in the background today is from Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. So with that said, first of the honorable mentions, didn't quite make the list, is Rockman Soccer, also known as Mega Man Soccer. This is honestly a really interesting Mega Man game given it's an actual soccer sports game. Definitely not your traditional Mega Man game of sorts, but I do recommend people, if you're curious in trying early era like sports games, this is actually some I recommend checking out with a little Mega Man twist on it. Other honorable mention, which remains this day to be Japanese only exclusives, YuYu Hakusho. In total, there was 4 YuYu Hakusho games. I've so far only been able to get a hold of 2 of them. And yes, there was one game for basically each era. Though the cover art for one is actually from the Dark Tournament, while cover art here is technically the background is from like Demon World and stuff, but it actually takes place around the era of Chapter Black. Well, Tournament to Chapter Black era. But it's definitely an interesting fighting game, to say the least. You can find them relatively affordable if you're at all curious. Okay, coming in at number 5. I'm not sure what other people's opinions are, but for me, at number 5 of criminally underrated, I have to give to Yoshi's Cookie, which is a game I definitely hold a special place for. This game, in all honesty, I bought this years back when a local video store was closing, which is why it has like the old like ad stuff here. But for me, this is arguably probably my personal favorite early era like Tetris clone, at least until Super Puzzle Fighter would come out. But still, nevertheless, I love this game. I mean, it has over 100 levels. It's a 2-player verse style you can do. Honestly, overall, I just like the aesthetic and look of Yoshi's Cookie, and I feel it deserves more love than it gets, which is why it comes in at number 5. Coming at number 4 is a virtually unknown game to most people, a very interesting Super Nintendo game called Young Merlin. To point out how not sought after this game is, I was able to get this complete in box, not best condition overall per se, but still I was able to get this in box with the guide, game, and everything for, I believe I paid like $20 for this complete. So that should say. But if you like or curious about earlier era like action RPG style games, check out Young Merlin. It definitely has its own unique twist. It definitely has a bit more of a cartoony art style, but still, nevertheless, I like it for what it is, and I think that more people should actually give this game a shot. Personal perspective only, though. Coming in at number 3. For me, number 3 spot goes to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers The Fighting Edition, which is arguably, in my opinion, one of the best, I would argue in the top 5 best 16-bit fighting games, easily of the Super Nintendo Sega Genesis era. Though this remained a exclusive to the Super Nintendo, even has special, you had the normal final boss, which was Zed, but you could unlock a special final boss fight against Ivan Ooze, which is really cool because for the most part the aesthetic and everything of this game is based around the actual show. So it's interesting, you have like a special boss fight against the actual main villain of the movie, which I found interesting. You had like 2 not really too remembered like enemy creatures you could fight within the game. You could play with Zed, you could play with Goldar, you could play with like the original Megazord, you could fight with the Thunder Megazord, the Ninja Megazord, and even the Shogun Megazord. As you see in the art, you have the Thunder Zord against Zed. It is actually a really fun game. I really like it, and the music is very loyal to the show. So if you're a fan of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers show, I do recommend, or if you're just a collector and interested in playing 16-bit fighters, this is a legitimate, I think, great game you should give a shot to. Coming in at number 2, you hear the music in the background from. For me, when I think of criminally underrated games, yes, I know, it was considered a dumbed-down, simplistic JRPG for Westerners at the time from Squaresoft, but I still have a nostalgia factor to this game, as it was one of the first RPGs I would ever play. It was my first RPG experience on the Super Nintendo, and I kept this throughout the years. I ended up, unfortunately, the old cartridge was not in great shape, so I had to end up buying a reproduction cartridge for the actual game. But with that said, still, the soundtrack to this game, in my opinion, is top tier, one of the best OSTs on the Sega Genesis, or on the Super Nintendo. Sorry, my brain's still a little asleep. With that said, coming in at number 1, I think most criminally underrated is Rockman X3, or better in the West, Mega Man X3. My favorite game of all time from Mega Man X series, or in general, is Mega Man X1, but I don't consider that game underrated, as it definitely gets a lot of praise. However, I feel X3 does not get near the love it gets. For me personally, I would probably put X3 my second favorite of the X series, and I think it's criminally underrated. More people need to give this game a shot. I get it, the difficulty's a little bit higher on X3 versus some of the others, but come on, let's be honest, original Mega Man is harder, in my opinion, than X series, but X still has a very good difficulty curve. And for me, definitely some of the boss fights from X3 are very memorable, and overall, I just love this game, and I think more people need to try X3. If you get a chance to get Mega Man collections, or heck, if you have a PC or something, and you can download Super Nintendo ROMs or anything, give this game a shot, seriously. It is a legit great experience, in my opinion, one of the best Mega Man games ever made, as well as one of the best platformers of the 16-bit generation. With that said, that is just my perspective, in my view, 5 criminally underrated games for the Super Nintendo, aka slash Super Famicom. Leave a comment and tell me what your thoughts are. What, in your opinion, are some criminally underrated games? With that said, I'll see y'all next time. And next time I will be doing top 5 criminally underrated Xbox 360 games, so stay tuned for that. I'll see y'all again soon enough.